Now, next we go to the 7th chapter, Vijnana Yoga. In this, here again, the meaning is the same. The same Atma is there in all. So he says, see God in all things. The story here is very interesting. A guru has taught his students that see God in everything. So here he is going somewhere in the forest and there is one mad elephant which is running amok. And this fellow just stands there and says, see God, this is elephant God, and he's just standing there. That Mahot is telling him, move out, this elephant is going to trample you. But he says, no, my guru has told me that every living creature is God. So this is elephant God, so I am standing here and praying to that God. So then the guru tells him that Mahot is also a God, no, that he told you that you should move out. Why didn't you listen to him? And another aspect in this is you have to use your brains. The elephant doesn't know that he is God or you are God. The elephant doesn't have that understanding. So just blindly you cannot take things. You have to use. That is why we are humans. We are supposed to have that special buddhi that we all have. So we should utilize it in the right time and not get carried away like this. There is one more story here wherein this is in the Rasa Leela, in Bhakti I have read this story. He says, two youngsters, they are going in the forest and on a tiger is coming. So then one climbed the tree, one just stood and said, I will say the mantra, I will say the shloka, I will call. So the tiger goes away. The fellow who climbed the tree, he's telling afterward, he's asking him, what did you say and how did the tiger go away? What happened? So he said, no, I said a shloka and the tiger went away. So then the fellow in the tree says, see the bhakti. He says, what was it? You could have easily climbed the tree. Why did you call and disturb God for that? See, everywhere, we have to use our brains also. It is not that, just read something and rattle it and then don't think about what it is. So that is another story. Here, the unseen. There is a teacher who doesn't believe in God or whatever. So she is going around telling, you are seeing, she tells the class of students, she says, you are seeing, you go outside, you're seeing the tree, you're seeing the birds, you're seeing the sky, you're seeing the sun, you're seeing this and that and everything. Are you seeing God? So there is no God. So this is her way of explaining, her or his way of explaining. Here we have a male, his way of explaining. So one child in that class gets up and takes the same child and says, okay, you're going here, you see this, you see that, you're seeing the sky, you're seeing the room, you're seeing the board, you're seeing the other children. And then he says, you're seeing the teacher. Are you seeing the brain of the teacher? So then it says, is this teacher's brainless? If you can say there is no God, then it says the teacher doesn't have a brain. So these kind of things are in this. Now, Krishna says there are 4 types of people who pray. All of us believe in barter system. We'll say, I'll do this. I will say this shloka, you give me this. I will do this puja, you give me this. This barter system is our normal thing. He says that's also okay. There's nothing wrong in this. There's nothing wrong in this. Then those who are trying to get some knowledge of God, they also do bhakti. Then those who want money, they also do bhakti. And of course the last is those who are really real bhaktas who don't want anything, but they just want love for love's sake or God for God's sake, that kind of thing. Krishna says, I find all of them, I take care of all of them. I don't have any partiality as long as they think about me, whichever way it is. But that doesn't mean we should continue to do barter system till we are 100 years old. Somewhere we should stop. Stop asking for ourselves, ask for the universe, ask for somebody else. Something like that we should change ourselves. So he says, the wise one is the best because a wise person worships God without wanting anything from him. But even such wise ones completely know God only after many births. So to reach that situation, of course, is very difficult. But here Paramacharya has given a wonderful example. He says, we should see the hand of God in anything that happens in the universe. If you see something beautiful, if you see some calamity that has been avoided, if you see nature's fury, everywhere we have to understand that it is the action of God. It is something that supernatural power has done. That understanding and thought, if we get into our heads, then we should feel blessed when we see such good things happening and we are able to connect it with the Almighty. Then we should consider ourselves blessed. So in this, as a corollary, I have just made a statement that having had people like Paramacharya or Ramana Maharshi or Sri Ramakrishna or Vivekananda in our lives, that is, we have not seen many of them, we have seen Paramacharya. Ramana Maharshi, some people here must have had his darshan also. So we are blessed to have been in this era. We should consider that as a blessing. In this chapter, this yo-yo yam yam, that shloka will come. See, the meaning of this shloka is the definition of this silly word secularism that we are talking about today. And everybody wonders whether Hindus understand this at all or not. Gita says, each one can think of whichever God comes to their mind, to their convenience, to their love, your Ishta Devata, and you can pray to them. He doesn't say you have to do only this or only this or only this. There is no compulsion that you can follow anybody. Such a beautiful shloka is there in this in the Gita. Next, I'm going to the chapter 8. This is about the eternal being. Here, the difference between transmigration and incarnation, reincarnation. See, there is a belief in our Sanatana Dharma. The belief is that there is a transmigration of the soul. So depending on our karmas, the soul can move from man to animal to anything. Whereas in other cultures, the belief is only reincarnation. That is, man becomes only a man. So that is why we stress upon this, that throughout your life, whatever is your thought, towards the end of your life, that thought will only predominate. And that is what will bring you back in your next life. So here is a story of son of Rishabhadeva. Rishabhadeva's son, Bharata. He was a king and very good king, noble king. He leaves his and goes away into the forest. He has a hermitage. He's doing very well. In that, at one point, a deer comes into that hermitage and he gets very fond of that deer. And at a point, after some time, that deer goes missing and he's searching for it and this and that. He's completely destroyed, mentally destroyed. He's all the time thinking of the deer. He has forgotten all the tapasya that he has done over the years, and ultimately he dies. And it is said that he was born as a deer in his next janma. So we believe in transmigration, whereas other cultures believe in reincarnation. For them, once you are a man, you will be a man only for your future births. For us, it is not that. What you do, your karma, your thought, your everything will determine what you will be in the next birth. Here again, Paramacharya has given a very beautiful example. He says, see, when we pluck a mango, an unripe mango from a tree, both sides shed tears. There is a white secretion which comes from the mango as well as from the stem. Both sides shed tears. So this is, that mango is not ready yet. It is like us. We are all the time shedding tears for various things, small trivial things or big things. We are all the time. Whereas the same mango, if it is ripe and it falls on its own, when it is ripe and it falls on its own, nothing happens. So that is the kind of pakwa that we should, all of us, we should try to get. Now, Yoga of Devotion, chapter 9. The story here is the boy who fed God. There was a pujari who used to make food at home, offer it to God, and distribute as prasad to everyone. And one day he had to go out of town, so he sent his son to take the food to the temple, offer it to God, and give it as a prasad. This child went inside and sat there and said, he just sat there and prayed and prayed and prayed and said, nobody's coming to take. He said, no, I'm not leaving. So he just did not leave. He sat there and prayed that you have to come and eat. How can I go out and answer anybody? You have to eat. I'm offering it to you. You have to eat. And God comes and eats, takes the prasad. So, if that devotion of ours reaches that level, this will also happen. And there is a true example of this in our Maharashtrian saints, Namdev. Namdev's life story, if you read, there is an incident where a dog takes away a roti and runs away. And Namdev is, this is the example. This is another example. Okay. Anyway, Namdev runs behind him and with the butter in his hand saying that this is very dry, you please take this. This is the kind of mindset that he has. The other example that I have to give here is different. Let me tell you. Namdev is supposed to have offered milk to Pandaranath and Panduranga. And Panduranga drinks that milk. This has happened. This is just 7-8 centuries. It's a recent, it's history. It's not like, going back to those days. This is history. So it is the way you offer. Now the next story is the great highway robber. Here again, there is a robber who robs people in the forest. And there were a lot of forests those days. Today we don't see forests. So everybody is always doing things in the forest. So he robbed, that is, every day he will rob, take the money or take the items, go and feed his family. Next day he will come and do the same thing. So one day he came across Narada. So he tied up Narada to a tree and robbed him. And then Narada tells him, says, you are robbing. Do you know that this is wrong? Then he understands, he explains to him, this is wrong. This is not the way you should lead your life. You should work. So then he says, why don't you tie me up, you go home and ask your family if they will partake with the sins that you are committing. You just ask them that and you come back. So then when he goes and asks his family, they say, why should we partake of your sins? It is your duty to take care of us. You have to come and feed us. That's your job. You're doing your job. You do it in the wrong way. It is your problem. We will not take a share of your sins. So then he comes back. That is when realization dawns on him. He comes back and then lot of things happen. Then Narada tells him this, that and all. And then he becomes the great Valmiki who wrote the Ramayana. So that is the kind of change that happened in his life. Next is the footprints. Here, one man is going back throughout his life. He's thinking about his life. And when he's thinking about his life, he sees that there are 2 sets of footprints on the sand all the time. So he says, oh, God is accompanying me all the time. But he sees that in certain stages, certain instances, there are only 1 set of footprints. So he's wondering why, what is it? What is the reason for this? So he's wondering, so he's asking God, what is this? Why? And then when he goes back into his life, he realizes that those are all the difficult times. His illness or his troubles or all those difficult times, he finds only 1 set of footprints. So then he asks, then God explains to him. He says, whatever you do or whatever troubles you go through in life is due to your karma. But I am always there with you. When you are in difficulty, I carry you. What a beautiful statement. I carry you. That is why you are seeing one set of footprints. So these are the kind of things, if we have in our mind, we will definitely not feel so low. See, the children who are now studying and coming up in life are getting so stressed with small things. So these are the stories that they should understand. When you are in difficulty, God is there closer to you. He is carrying you. So He will be there. Whatever your difficulty, you will overcome it. Instead of thinking it to be desperation, should not come in. So these are the 3 stories for this. In this, there is one example that I would like to say again. So here, all of us, even a criminal, it is said that in the last 10 seconds before committing a crime, he will also think, should I do it or not? Only thing is, he does not have that background sattvic storage which will change that mind. He goes ahead and does the crime. But it is documented that even a criminal in that last 10 seconds will definitely vacillate. He will think whether I should do this or not do this. So that is why throughout our life, we should keep our good samskaras, good thoughts going. So that when we are in crossroads, you don't have to be a criminal. Even commonly, we all also sometimes do certain wrong things. Or we are in such a situation that you have to do a wrong thing. It is our good sense that prevents us from doing it. So that is why it is essential that we keep good thoughts in our mind. We come to chapter 10. Chapter 10 is the description of the Lord, and it's complete, unbelievable description of the Lord. And what we know is a minuscule amount of what is the truth. So we know very little. And for that, there is a story here where 4 blind men, they are going and examining an elephant. One touches the leg, one touches the trunk. He thinks, touches a leg, he says elephant is like a pillar. He touches the trunk, he says it's like a snake. Somebody touches the abdomen, he says it's like a wall. So like that, they are touching various parts of the elephant and thinking that is the whole. And normal man comes and then he explains to them that all this put together is the elephant. So that is exactly what is the picture that we all have in our mind. What we know about the Almighty is a minuscule portion of what exactly it is. In this chapter, there is a lot of full description about the Lord has been given. I am not going into all the details. But one point that we should make here is, see, there are various deities. So each one of these deity is an amsha of that supreme power. That way understanding all of us must have. Shiva or Vishnu or Brahma or Devi or whatever, anybody, it's one aspect of that Brahman has been described and highlighted in these various names that we have been given. So that is one important point that we have to understand here.
பேசுனாதது உரையே தருவது காணுனான் மறை முடிவாய் நிறைவது பஞ்சபூத காயபாசமதனிலே உறைவது மயமாய் உடலறியா வகையது காயமானவர் எதிரே அவரென வந்து பேசி பெண்ணோனாதது வெளியே ஒளியது மாயனாரையனறியா வகையது வேத பேத முடுலகாய் வளர்வது விந்துநாதா பெருமாய் கயல் அறிவாய் கொரிய அதீதமானது வினையேன் முடி தவ பெருமாயருள் நிறைவாய் விளைவது ஒன்று நீயே வீணோநாதன அபயாத சுரது நுரியே உயிர் நமனி கொழுவன வேல்கடாவிய கரணே உமை முலை உண்ட கோவே வேதனான் முக மறையோனோடும் விளையாடியே குடுமியிலே கரமோடு விரமோதின மரவா குரவர் குறிஞ்சியூதே வேணோனாயிடும் இதன் மேலறிவையை மேவியே மயல் கொளலீலைகள் இது சிறநாடிய திருடாகருள் தரு கந்தவேளே திருநாவகை வெளியே திரியும் ஞான யோகிகள் உளமே உரை தரு தேவனூர்வர் குமரா அமரர்கள் தம்பிரானே.
Tirupugal. So now comes the most important, the vision of the God. That is the universal form, Vishwarupam, chapter 11. So, Arjuna required 10 chapters before he was prepared to that level to have this darshan. Because with an ordinary eye, you will not be able to see that darshan. So he was given a jnana chakshu to absorb that. At the end of it, of course, he was convinced, he was scared, he was shivering. He told Krishna, you come back to your normal form. I cannot see you like this. But that vision that he had completely changed his understanding of everything. Because he saw the whole Brahmand was there within him. So when that kind of appearance was given to him, he really, and that is the same, that Paramatma is the same Atma which is within us. If we look inwards, we will also be able to understand that. But for that, there is a story here which says, God is with you. There is a fellow who wants to have a smoke in the middle of the night. And he feels he doesn't have a light, candle or some light. So he goes knocking at the neighbor's house. He goes to the neighbor's house and knocks at their door, and after a long time that fellow comes and opens, and then he says, I want fire because I want to have a smoke. Then that fellow says, you are carrying a lantern. It's there with you. What are you doing? This is our position. We are all in that. We read theory. We all know this very well. But very difficult for any of us to, constantly think like that. At least let us read and understand it. Maybe one day it will appeal to us a little more. That is why they say study of Upanishads is very difficult. So you can do Bhagavad Gita, you can do this, you can do all the Puranas, Itihasa, everything you can do. Upanishads you cannot do. What is the difficulty in Upanishad? All these are talking about in something outside. So we are concentrating, we are very happy. It's a story of what's going on around you, what somebody did, what somebody said. Upanishad is all looking inside. It's all the time talking about your Atma. That's why they say Upanishad is very difficult to understand. So this is exactly what happened in this chapter. And another small episode that I have put up is Krishna opening his mouth, and it's okay. Opening his mouth and showing the whole Brahmand is in his mouth to Yashoda, and making her realize that he is the Almighty, but at the end of it, immediately he makes her forget. Because he wants to live in this world as a child who has a mother, and that mother's affection would have gone. Instantaneously it would have gone. She would be only all the time falling at his feet. So he made her forget that. But he made her realize also. So this is just one. So Vishwarupa Darshan, we have put up a picture.
அசைவுறாத பேராத விதமுமே வியோகாது ஹரிசதான சோபானம் அதனாலே யமதி மோதியாகாச கமனமாமனோபாவம் எளித்து சால மேலாக உரையாடும் எனதியானும் வேறாகி எவரும் யாதும் யானாகும் இதய பாவனாதீத அருள்வாயே முருக விமலை தோடி மீதோடு யமுனை போல ஓரேழு விபுதமே கனி போல உலகேழும் விரிவு காணுமாமாயன் முடிய நீளுமா போல வெகுவிதாமுகாய பதமோடி கமலயோனி வீடான ககன கோளமீதோடு கணவ நீலமாயூர இளையோனே கருணை மேகமே தூய கருணை வாரியில் கருணை மேருவே தேவர் பெருமாளே முருக யமனை மோதி ஆகாச கமனமாமனோபாவம் எளித்து சால மேலாக உரையாடும் எனதியானும் வேறாகி எவரும் யாதும் யானாகும் இதய பாவனாதீத அருள்வாயே
द्वादशोऽध्यायः भक्तियोगः अर्जुन उवाच एवं सततयुक्ताये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तम् तेषां के योगवित्तमाः श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यावेश्य मनो ये माम् नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेतास् ते मे युक्ततमा मताः ये त्वक्षरमनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थम् अचलं ध्रुवम् सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामम् सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम् मय्येव मन आधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अथ ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्मः परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यदात्मवान् श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागात् त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम् अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखः सुखक्षमी सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोको लोकान्नो द्विजते च यः हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैः मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः अनपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्ष उदासीनो गतव्यतः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति शुभाशुभपरित्यागी भक्तिमान्यः स मे प्रियः ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धदाना मत्परमा भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे भक्तियोगो नाम द्वादशोऽध्यायः.
No. So we have completed Sankhya, Karma, Jnana, and now we are in Bhakti. Here the story is of Prahlada. All of us know the story of Prahlada, and Prahlada is the son of Hiranyakashipu, and Hiranyakashipu wanted him to learn, not believe in Narayana, and to say Hiranyakashipaya Namaha and not Narayanaya Namaha. So he tortured him, he did this, that, all kinds of things. But this child survived everything, all the difficulties that he was subjected to by his father. He survived all that. Now, here there is one point that I would like to make, which is, how is it that in this family, it's a total Daitya family, a child like Prahlada was born, first of all. So now if you look into that, Prahlada's mother, Kayadu, during her pregnancy was taken away by Narada and kept in one ashrama and continuously exposed to the Mahima of Narayana throughout her pregnancy. And here we see a child born who is such a great Narayana Bhakta. So now this aspect, this antenatal period, how important it is in developing a child. So that is what is Arya Janani program, wherein we conduct workshops during the antenatal period, so and expose the mother and the would-be mother and father, to expose them to the good, all our Sanatana Dharma in various ways. So these are the examples. For that there are various other examples, but Prahlada is one such example. So now he, at one point, when everything went beyond control and when Hiranyakashipu was going to really kill him, he says Om Namo Narayana, and says, where is this Narayana? He says he can be anywhere. And he comes out of a pillar and kills Hiranyakashipu. There is one more aspect to this. The way we have read everywhere that when there is adharma, the Lord comes. There is that you can look at it in another way also. There is adharma to a great extent going on in the world all the time. God does not come every time. He does not come every time to solve all the problems. He comes only sometimes. And he comes only when there is a staunch bhakta. When a bhakta calls him. Everywhere you see, it is a bhakta who has made him come to earth. So, greatness of Prahlada is double. First of all, he was born in that situation, and then afterwards also because he was such a great Narayana Bhakta, Narayana himself came as Narasimha and saved him.